Hi everybody, my name is Andrew Toko, and I'm one of the team members here at Black Ink IT. Today, I want to talk with you about Office 365 email encryption. We're going to go through what exactly is Office 365 email encryption, why you should apply it to an email to begin with, and of course, how you actually apply email encryption. So if you've been through this tutorial before and you know what section of the video you want to jump ahead to, feel free to click any of the respected sections and it'll jump ahead to that time in the video. If you've not been through it before, let's go ahead and jump into it. Starting out, what exactly is Office 365 email encryption? So, to put it really simply, Office 365 email encryption is just a way to be able to send a secure message to the intended recipient. So, whether you need to get an email to somebody within your organization or somebody outside of the company, there may be circumstances that you need to encrypt an email. So, jumping into why you should apply email encryption, there's going to be a few circumstances that might arise. Whether you're sending financial data, personal identification information, intellectual property, really anything that you can think of that it could cause damage to you and or your company if that email got in the wrong hands, you should apply email encryption to the message. So why do you need to apply email encryption? I thought emails were kind of secure to begin with. Like why do I need to go through this extra step? You do not know what's going on between you and the recipient on the other end. So on the way to the intended recipient, somebody could pick up that network traffic. In this example, we have Mr. Sniffy here. If he picks up on that email on the way to the recipient and the email is not encrypted, he or she has the ability to see whatever content is inside of that email. So if you sent a credit card through plain text email and you did not encrypt the message, Mr. Sniffy here would be able to see everything. But if you did encrypt the email and Mr. Sniffer picked up on that email on the way to the intended recipient, he or she could not see any of the contents within the message itself. So, like I said, financial data, intellectual property, personal identification information, all should be encrypted. The easy way to think about it, like I said, is if you have a circumstance where if this information got into the wrong hands, it could cause damage to me and or my company, go ahead and encrypt the email. I would say err on the side of caution in most circumstances. If you think there's any justification for applying email encryption, go ahead and do so. It's not something that's super difficult for you to do from your perspective, and from the recipient's perspective, as we'll see, it's not something that's overly cumbersome either. So let's go ahead and jump in how you actually apply encryption to an email. We're going to start out in the Outlook application, and we're just going to craft a new email. So when you craft a new email, what you'll see up here on the banner is under the message tab, you may see an encrypt padlock. If you do not see the encrypt padlock button here on the default message tab, go ahead and jump over to options and you're going to see the exact same thing here. So to apply email encryption, there's a few really simple ways to do it. You can either just hit the encrypt padlock button and you'll see this little banner pop up. It's just going to let you know, hey, email encryption has been applied to this message, and you're kind of good to go. There's a few different options that you have though. You can hit this drop down option, and once you hit this drop down option, you're going to see your organization name, and you'll see this encrypt only option that we applied a moment ago, or you'll see an option to do not forward. Do not forward does exactly what it sounds like, but it does a few additional stuff as well. So let's go ahead and just select it and see what it does. So when you select do not forward, you're going to see it reading in this little banner up here at the top. It's going to let you know, of course, the person that receives the message cannot forward the message. But on top of that, they're not going to have the ability to print the message or copy the content within the message itself. So whatever text you have in there, they would not have the ability to copy and paste it somewhere else. So there may be a circumstance where this is justified. So kind of think about what you would want the person to do and apply the respected option for what makes the most sense for your circumstance. I'm going to go ahead and jump over to an email I've already briefly put together though. So you're going to do email encryption like you would really any other message. Like I said, either under the message tab or the options tab, you'll have this encrypt button. So starting out, the first thing I would always do is just apply the encryption option that you need. After that, you behave exactly like you would for any other email. Type the intended recipients to the two carbon copy or blind carbon copy options, input the subject that you need, and of course, go ahead and type the message that you're trying to encrypt and keep safe. So we're going to go ahead and send this message off. And while this message is on its way, we went through how you do this in the local Outlook application, but how exactly do you do this if you're working on the web version? Say you're working from home and you still have the need to be able to send an encrypted email, can you still do so in the web portal? Of course you can. So if you are in Outlook on the web, go ahead and craft a new email just like we did a second ago. And you may see the encrypt option over here on the top already. If you do not see the encrypt option though, go ahead and hit the three dots, a little ellipsis over here on the right, and you will see the encrypt option and the exact same abilities that we had on the Outlook application. So it's pretty much the same process. The buttons are just in a very slightly different spot. So if you're working from home and you need the ability to send an encrypted message, you can still do so from the web portal. So let's go ahead and actually see what this looks like from the recipient's perspective. We sent the email to a few different addresses. We sent it to a Gmail address, as you see here, and we also sent it to an AT&T address. So let's go ahead and open up the message. What you'll see here is it starts out with just kind of company information. Instead of the black ink logo, what the recipient will see for you is your company's logo along with the changed colors that kind of match your company branding. But of course, you don't really see the message natively. You don't see anything quite yet. So if somebody receives this message and they're a little worried, they don't quite know what to do, one of the things that we kind of add on to this service is some instructions. Every time that somebody sends a secure email to somebody outside of the organization, we go ahead and send this follow-up secure message. The subject line is just going to be instructions for, and then whatever the actual subject line was of the original email that you sent. And then it's going to give some guidance saying, hey, this is how you access the secure email from your name, and it's going to give details on how that person actually has the ability to open the message. So if we go back over to the message itself, let's just go ahead and hit read message. It's going to open up in a new window here. And once that new window opens up, if the person's using Gmail, they're going to see this ability to sign in with Gmail, and that makes the process of getting in super simple. But say you're not using Gmail, let's go ahead and jump over to AT&T. If we do the exact same thing and try to actually read the message here, we're going to see the options slightly change. So instead of just sign in with Gmail, what we're going to see is sign in with a one-time passcode. So once this message loads up, instead of actually seeing sign in with Google, the only thing that the person is going to see is sign in with a one-time passcode, and that's really the only change. So let's just go ahead and go through the process of signing in with the one-time passcode over here on the AT&T email. So they're just going to hit this sign in button, and then all that's going to do is send the one-time passcode to the email address that they're trying to access the email from. So if you sent it to the AT&T address, they're going to go back to their AT&T inbox, and they're going to actually see a one-time passcode. One of the things that I would suggest is if the person doesn't see the message show up in their inbox, go ahead and have them check their junk or spam folder, and it could end up in there. But all we're going to do is copy this one-time passcode. And then after we copy that one-time passcode, we're just going to paste it in, and we're going to see if we can view the message. After we paste it in, hit continue, of course, and then it's going to kind of bring you up to the window with the actual message in it. Let's see what that process looks like on Gmail. So instead of having to do this one-time passcode process, all I have to do is hit sign in with Gmail, and then it's going to recognize like, hey, you're signed into Gmail with that address in your other tab. We're just going to natively open the message. They don't have to go through those extra hoops of actually being able to view the message itself. So inside of the email, they're going to have all the same abilities that they would otherwise. If you need to reply, anything that you need to attach, you can do all of that kind of natively here in the portal. So if you want to reply, you can just go ahead and type your message back and go ahead and send that off. So what does that look like if somebody is using Office 365 though? So if somebody is using Office 365, I went ahead and CC'd myself in the email. And what the person in Office 365, if they're using Outlook, will see is they're going to see this little padlock here. That's going to let them know that the message is protected. So once you open the message, there's a few different circumstances that could come up. Either it's just going to show up natively here in the read pane, but if it doesn't show up natively, a couple suggestions is either double click the email to kind of bring it up into its own window, and it should propagate and allow that email to be seen. If you still don't get any of those options, you can always go into the web portal like we were a second ago, and the person, once they're on the web portal, is going to have the ability to kind of see that message without really any extra steps, just the same. So it's pretty simple if you're using Office 365 or Gmail. Getting in with Office 365 is native, you don't have to take any extra steps. If you're using Gmail, you may have to sign in with your Google address. If you're using some other email provider though, it's going to require you to do that one-time passcode process. But that process isn't something that's super difficult, and we do send that follow-up instructional email to hopefully give the recipient a little bit of guidance. It wouldn't be a terrible idea to go ahead and familiarize yourself with the process though. So if you want to send yourself a few encrypted emails just to test it out and make sure you know exactly what happens from the recipient perspective, I would encourage you to go ahead and do so. So what if we just went through the process of actually just sending a brand new email? What if you need to apply encryption to something that you're applying to though? Let's go ahead and let's find a message that I could reply to here. So we're just gonna reply to the instructions that we got here. So if we reply to the instructions that we got, what you'll see is by default here in the reading pane, you don't really see those same options. They're encrypted, you can't really do anything. If you hit the reply button, your Outlook application may be set up to go ahead and pop out in a new window. But if you don't have that, simply double click the email and it'll pop out in a new window just the same. Go ahead and drag it over here. And then when you hit the reply option now, you have those exact same options that you had when you crafted a new email. So just if you have to reply to a message and you know the reply itself needs to be encrypted, go ahead and apply that respected encryption option that you need and send the information that the person's looking for. So what happens when the person does reply though? So everything in that email chain is going to stay encrypted. Therefore, the email encryption option cannot be removed even by you as the sender. So once you start an email chain with an encrypted email, that email chain is going to stay encrypted going forward. Keep that in mind. So if you have a circumstance where you just need to send like one piece of data that is encrypted, it may not be a terrible idea just to send that one piece of data as a separate email and then continue on with your email chain just through normal email, and that may make everybody's life just a tad bit easier. The other really big suggestion that I would give folks is if you're wanting to view encrypted emails on your cell phone, your company gives you the authority to open up email on your personal cell phone, I would highly encourage you to go ahead and use the Outlook application itself. The Outlook application itself has the native ability to view everything just like you're doing in the Outlook application on your computer. So if you're going to be sending encrypted emails regularly and you're not using the full-blown Outlook application on your cell phone, I would encourage you to go ahead and install that. But that's the basics of Office 365 email encryption, what it is, why you should use it to begin with, and how you actually apply encryption and generally kind of how it works. So if you have any questions or anything, feel free to get in touch with Black Ink IT by giving us a call at 317-472-8001 or shooting us an email at support@blackinkit.com. Thanks so much, everybody. Take care. Bye.